What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have some exciting stuff that just came in. ISR just sent us a bunch of stuff for the hatch. So we want to show you what we got in store for the build coming up. First thing we got, we might as well start with the excitement. This is the dead giveaway right off the rip. The KA is getting a turbo, baby. We got ISR's like full KA turbo kit. It's got a 3071 turbo, quite a bit bigger than the T25. I was gonna go with the T25 because I don't want to blow this thing up. So I wanted to keep a small turbo instead of a bigger one. These things only cap out at about 400 anyways. And from what I'm told from a couple tuners, you kind of want a bigger turbo so it doesn't ramp in right in the peak torque. So that way it doesn't blow this sucker up, because we're gonna keep a stock motor and just go till it blows. But ISR has like a super rad new turbo manifold that they threw in instead of using the V2 that comes in the kit. They got us this V3 manifold. This thing is gangster. It's a bottom mount turbo manifold, so it'll go pretty much right where it goes on an SR20. And this thing is beefy. It comes with all hardware and gaskets. Really nice multi-layer steel gasket. They sent us their big boy KA radiator. Super thick, super nice. We are also getting their fan shroud with it. Look how pretty that looks, right on top of another piece of cardboard. Anyways, this thing's rad. Super good quality, welds look super good. It's gonna be able to keep us from overheating whenever we rip the absolute crap out of this car. I'm told I shouldn't do that, but it's just not in my nature not to beat the shit out of everything that I own. ISR downpipe, it's not all just turbo stuff, guys. Before the turbo stuff's over, dope front mount. We'll try to make this thing as clean and tidy as possible, unlike the last turbo car that I had back in 2012. And this box of goodies, lots of goodies. So to go with our turbo kit, ISR sent us this package of 750cc injectors from ISR. So these are gonna be rad to make it to where we can make a little bit more than 400 horsepower if we choose to. First go around, we'll probably make about 300, keep it safe. But once we blow that thing to smithereens, we'll build it and come back better. Fancy turbo well, no dump tube. Everything just goes right back into the exhaust. Keep it as treatable as possible. That's the main goal with this car. Got their oil sandwich plate to feed the turbo for the feed line. We're gonna have to make our own return line back to the tank, but they're sending us a basic return line kit from there. ISR's air filter that also has bolts here on the end that will directly mount up to like the Z32 MAF, which is rad. And then they also hooked us up with their full suspension arm kit. So we have the ISR Pro. It's the exact same thing I run on my FD car, all the rear upper control arm, tension rod, traction arms. And we have their angled tension rods for the front. So we can turn to full lock whenever we get an angle kit on this thing and not have to worry about rubbing a tire on this thing. So I'm pretty stoked about all these parts. ISR really came through. They always come through. They're the boys. So definitely keep them in mind whenever it's time to start building your S13 or whatever it is. If they've got something for your car, you should definitely consider it. I've ran their coilovers in the past. Like I said, I still run their suspension arms on my FD car, and we just got second in the championship, so they're not too bad in my opinion. But yeah, let's work on getting these things on the car. So full disclaimer, we don't have all the turbo stuff yet, and we don't want to start that project until we have everything ready to rock. And plus I want to get some drive time in this thing, so we want to get the fuel system figured out like we were trying to do in the last video, get that finished up. But in the meantime, we are going to put all the suspension arms on so we can dial in the alignment a lot better, because it's okay, but I want that sucker to be perfect. So our boy Mike down at Nocturnal, he does all the Drift STL alignments. They do extended lower control arms and knuckles. We'll probably do for this thing as well, just while it's there, have it all done in one rip. That way we'll have some extended lowers so we can get some camber up front as well. But yeah, we're gonna get these control arms on today, and whenever the coilovers come in, and then we'll take it over to Nocturnal. So let's get it going. Touch tips. There we go. That's tight. How tight is it? So, side note, it just occurred to all of us that we haven't even introduced Tyler to the channel. We've talked about him several times. Tyler is a longtime homie of mine. We've been doing S-chassis stuff since I started doing S-chassis stuff. And I would trust him with pretty much anything. Tyler is our in-house tech. Tyler, say hi.
Hello.
Tyler is very good at pretty much anything S-chassis. He's way more patient than I am, and he's one of the only people that I would recommend to do any job ever. So what sense would it make for me to not bring him in here? Happy to have him, and super thankful because this car would not be as far as it is without him. Go Tyler. Love him.
Appreciate it.
So Tyler is knocking out the rear control arms at the moment. As everything was going super smoothly up front, we got to the back and things are not going smoothly at all. The old rusty bolts are not going over well. But turns out I forgot to order eccentric cam bolt lockout bolts. So these are cam bolts, so the washer is off center. So it sits in there and you can turn it and it'll push the control arm in and out to change the alignment a little bit. And the eccentric lock bolts will center the bolt in the washer to where it'll hold tight, which this is so you can align like your factory non-adjustable control arms to a certain amount. But we have that in the aftermarket arms now, so we don't need these anymore. These can actually cause problems. So I got with ISR, we're gonna order another set of eccentric lockout bolts. And whenever we go to change to put the coilovers on, we'll end up swapping those bolts out with these before we go get an alignment. But for now, once we get all these headaches out, we'll just put it back in with these, and whenever it's time to put it all back together, or put the coilovers on, we'll get it all fixed up. But it's a good thing I got Tyler, because I'd have gave up and went home already. I hate problems.
Rubbing on the fender.
You know, I had to wash my hands before I, put these nice fancy clean wheels back on. Dude, Koenig killed it on these wheels. The SSMs, one of their mainline wheels, they're not the flow forms like we run on our race car, which are super awesome, but these look awesome, so I'm loving them. They're great. The first thing that we are replacing is the front tension rods. These bolt to your factory lower control arm up to a bracket up in the front, the tension rod bracket, and it keeps your lower control arm from moving forward or backwards. This helps you align the caster, aka where the wheel sits in the wheel well front to back. So we're taking out this big, bulky, weak tubular piece that mounts right up in here, and we are replacing it with this super beefy 3/8 plate, looks like slanted one, which gives you much more wheel clearance, bolts all in the same place, moves it over quite a bit with this offset heim, moves it the head of it over, as well as putting an angle in there. So it mounts exactly in the factory position, and it's got these fully adjustable, I guess turnbuckle style nut, where all you gotta do is turn the center nut, and then it will make this shorter and longer so you can dial your alignment in perfect. So what we're gonna do, just to get it as close as possible, is we'll just make an adjustment to try to line the center hole up with these two holes to where we'll get it as close to where the factory alignment is as possible. So we're gonna at least drive this thing around until we get a full alignment on. So let's get these things on. What's up guys, flash forward a couple days. We finally got our coilovers in from Silvers. We got two sets here. We got a set for the S13 street car, and we got another set of 2-ways for the pro car that we were throwing together. Now we have 4 sets. So we got a backup set for each car and a primary set. We got 5K rear springs, 9K rear springs, so we're ready to rip. These S13 coilovers are just a one-way coilovers. They're off the shelf, regular 8K, 6K. spring race, and they ride like a dream. So I'm super excited. So we're gonna get these things put on. Tyler's finally putting on those hub-centric bolts for the arms that I forgot to order. So ISR sent those out to us. And Tyler's gonna put on, we won't show you that because it's freaking boring. So let's get these bad days out of the box. These bad boys are so good. I don't know what kind of coating they use on these things, but if you've ever had coilovers before and you go to change your ride head a couple years later, every coilover in the world is seized except silvers. They have some weird coating, I don't know what it is, I wish I did. It goes on the threads of these things and they never seize. And they ride fantastic. They have a swift spring upgrade that you can do if you choose to do so. You can do a super low kit, all of that stuff, no extra cost. So, side note, I'm a silvers dealer. You need silvers? I'll sell them to you. Yeah. All right, so the rear coils are on. We don't hate where it's at. The ride height is decent. It's still gonna settle probably like a ½ inch, but we're gonna probably end up lowering it a little bit more. But right now we have some not very great fitment. So we're gonna take some camber out of it and try to sand it up a little bit more, and we're gonna put toe plates on it and do a little quick alignment for it. Make sure everything, the toe is pretty straight, because we want this thing to be as drivable and straightable as possible. Okay, so we're gonna work on getting the alignment a little bit better on this thing. There's 3 adjustable arms that ISR gave to us. The front one is your traction rod. It's what makes the wheel forward or backwards in the wheel well. You have your rear upper control arm, which does the camber, makes the wheel lean in or out, so we're gonna try to stand it up. And then the back one is the toe rod, which makes your wheel point straight, inward, or outwards. So you always wanna adjust camber first, because camber is gonna affect both your caster and your toe. So we're gonna stand the wheel up a little bit more to try to make it fill the fender well a little bit better. And then we'll make sure that the wheel is centered in the wheel well, because before we were actually rubbing back here. And then we'll get this thing on the ground, we'll put some toe plates on it and get the toe straight. Doesn't have to be perfect, because we are gonna take it over to Nocturnal and have them figure out the alignment the rest of the way. We wanna make it look good and get it pretty straight, because they don't do that over there. So yeah, we just wanna make it looking right. Probably lower it a little bit more, so.
That's the point. I need to take it all the way down. That way I can get past that.
Why is this not working? So what we're doing here is got the toe plates on the car. They'll be able to measure relatively accurately. It's a great tool for the track, just to make sure that the toe's in pretty well. So use tape measures. You want to get it as zeroed as possible. Right now we just eyeball them to try to make them straight down the car. Not perfect yet, we still got some work to do. But basically, you want to line up your tape here with what you got back here. And holy shit, dude, they're both 72 and 7/8, and that's not a joke.
Stop.
On the nose. There's literally zero toe. Zero toe, but they're both kind of like this a little bit, so driving down the street it would be kind of dog walking. But I think we still want to mess with the camera a little bit. We wanted to get pretty close to where we have a better depiction of ride height and camber and all that stuff. So.
Okay, so you just want me to turn that one out?
It needs to go in. Well, the back, I guess, turns out, yeah. That's so sketchy. All right, so the back is done. Got the fitment, really nice. We still got to trim out the inner fender a little bit more for us to be able to add a little bit more camber, but it's as good as it's going to get for now. It's relatively low. It's not second wheel, but it's pretty low. I live on the back road, so I want to keep it as mild as possible because I want to drive this thing every day. But it's coming out pretty good. Tyler's working on the front right now. We're going to get the ride height set up as close as we can. So check it out. Thing we want to do is figure out how to set the ride height. It was pretty high before in the front, so we definitely want to lower it at least a little bit. These old busted T-ins had a whole lot of droop. Droop is when you jack the car up, how far the wheels droop down or sag down, if you will. Because these things have a helper spring on it, it really pushes the wheel down to the ground more. So like if you're gonna three-wheel, if you're gripping up real hard in the back and your car's leaning super hard, this will push the wheel down and keep it on the ground for you so you don't three-wheel. So we don't have this here, so we have less droop, so it naturally can be a little bit shorter like this. So we'll probably just put it on the car with a baseline, and we can spin this up and lower it, or we can spin it down to raise it up. Camber we're probably not going to mess with, but it does have some camber adjustment up here on the top. You just loosen these Allen keys and you can move the coil in or out. And since the knuckle bolts directly right here, it immediately will affect if the wheel's in or out. So we'll probably keep it right where it is, set from the factory, and see where we're at. Needs to be lower in the front.
Much. What do you think? Inch?
So we got the front wheels on. We added a little bit of camber, which made the fitment a lot more doo-doo. I think we're gonna lower it like another inch. So I think we're good. Let's take this thing for a test drive. It's so much lower and it's so much cooler. I love it so much. This thing looks fucking tight. Yo, this new steering wheel, much better than that gold Chinese Momo. Not great. This thing, great. Crooked now, but dear Lord baby Jesus, does this thing ride like a freaking dream, man. I feel like I'm in a nice Mercedes or BMW. Silvers are freaking awesome, dude. So these silvers are just the baseline coilover, have a digressive shock on them, which is like comparable to like multiple levels up with like several other coilover brands. So they ride freaking awesome, where they can adjust to the road a lot better than most other coilovers. I mean, obviously I'm sponsored by them, so I'm supposed to say good things, but I honestly have nothing but good things to say about these things, regardless of sponsorship or not. They ride so good, and I have suggested them to all my friends, and every single one of them ran rave about it, not because I'm sponsored by them, because they're not. You know, they just love the way they ride, and they honestly do ride awesome. Like, this road is rough as hell, and no big deal. It's awesome. Love it here. It rides so good. I can't freaking get over how awesome this thing's are. I'm so stoked on this thing. This is gonna be the best freaking street car ever. This thing's miles better than my last hatch. Now we just gotta make it start whenever we turn it on.
Always a good thing.